Well, hello there. Welcome, lads and lassies, to my latest review. It's the 1993 horror comedy Leprechaun that I'll be bringing to you. So will my feelings be loving or will I be hating? Will this cult classic be good or get my heart garbage rating? Before we begin, you need to subscribe and then click the bell. And when I post a new video, YouTube will tell. So without more delay, here's what I want you to do. Sit back and relax and enjoy my review. Let's go.
Try as they will, and try as they might, who steals me gold won't live through the night.
So this is JeffMan316, your pop culture reporter, and welcome back to the JeffMan316 custom YouTube channel. And sorry about that. If you thought I was going to keep up with that shenanigans and wearing that beard throughout the whole review, I'm sorry. I will keep the hat on though, because I think that kind of looks cool. But with that being said, like I said, this is going to be a review for the 1993 cult classic Leprechaun. Leprechaun stars Warwick Davis as the title character, along with Jennifer Aniston, who's making her feature film debut as the main protagonist in the movie. The film was written and directed by Mark Jones. This was the first theatrical film that was released from Trimark Pictures, and it obviously wasn't an instant hit. I think it became more of like a cult hit on video through like VHS releases like that right there. I remember going and renting the Leprechaun movie back in the day, like in the early 90s. Like I said, it was kind of like it's also a staple on cable TV back in the day. I know like they continuously played the series this time of year on the Sci-Fi channel and channels like that. Like I said, my first time seeing it was renting that exact videotape there. I think that one's the one that's been in my collection this whole time. It's still actually in pretty good shape. I didn't see a lot of the other ones until they made their way on cable TV, but that's the one that I hold near and dear because it's the first one that I remember renting and buying the tape from my local video store. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and give you a little plot synopsis of what was going on in the movie. Still itchy from that beard. The movie tells the story of a man who ends up stealing the leprechaun's pot of gold. This leprechaun tracks him back to the United States, to his little farm. And in the process of the leprechaun trying to get his pot of gold back, you know, he's looking for his gold through this entire movie. He's got to find every little piece of it, not just the pot. Any piece that's missing, he's got to find it. In the process of looking for it, he ends up killing the farmer's wife. And then the farmer ends up trapping him in a crate inside of his basement. And he holds him there with a 4-leaf clover that he places on top of the crate. So that ends up being kind of like the kryptonite to this version of the leprechaun in this story. So 10 years pass. Someone buys the farm. It's a guy who brings his daughter along. His daughter ends up being played by Jennifer Aniston. Her character's name is Tori. He's also hired 3 guys, which is made up of an older guy, his younger brother, and then kind of like a dim-witted comic relief type character named Ozzy. And those 3 are hired to like do some chores and fix up and paint around the farmhouse to get it back up to par, so that the guy can make his daughter happy, and so that they'll both be happy to live there. So along the way, they end up accidentally releasing the leprechaun from the crate, that's in the basement of the house by accidentally sweeping the dust off of the crate. It ends up just sweeping off the 4-leaf clover that was holding him in the crate, thus releasing him, and then he goes on a path of destruction, trying to kill everybody or do everything to find every piece of gold, like I said. So with that being said, this is the first time I remember seeing Jennifer Aniston. I know this is her first feature film. She may have done some TV stuff before that. When I remember seeing her in this, she kind of seemed out of place because she seemed like a bigger star. She was obviously beautiful, and that was probably why they cast her in the role, you know, because you got to have a beautiful girl. This is obviously, she's not considered like a final girl in this, but you know the role that I'm talking about, a classic trope of horror movies. Got to have a beautiful girl being chased by the creature or the killer or whatever you're talking about. She seemed to be playing an early version of the Rachel character that she did on Friends, which would be a girl who's spoiled, never had to work for everything, ends up trying to pay people off to solve her problems. This, of course, she has to change over time as she learns to work with these guys as they fight and try to survive as the Leprechaun's trying to get his last piece of gold back. Hey, did you know that even though this was Jennifer Aniston's first feature film, the movie studio actually rejected her when the director suggested her for the part? It wasn't until he insisted multiple times that they changed their mind. What do studios know anyway? So nobody's ever going to mistake this to be a great movie. Like even back in the 90s, I wouldn't compare it to any of the higher budget, bigger horror movies that were coming out. I think you got to know what you're getting into when you get into a movie like this. And it's just clean. Well, I say that. It's got gore to it, so it's not really clean. That's not a good word. But it's just, you know, campy, fun, that you can set back like a popcorn flick and enjoy. Obviously, the one-liners coming from the Leprechaun from his rhymes are kind of cool. But it's that campy fun and charm that Warwick Davis brings to that main character. He's the main thing that keeps this film interesting, keeps it rolling along, keeps it with a fast pace just because of his high energy. He looks like he's having a blast, like in every scene, if you ask me. Hey, did you know that Warwick Davis actually played Wicket the Ewok in multiple Star Wars movies? He was even the title character in the movie Willow. He was the one that suggested that they add all the comedy elements to the movie. And what would we have had if he didn't do that? What a small world. I think this movie was they originally were trying to sell it as a straight up horror movie, and I can't imagine the creators trying to pass this off as straight up horror. Even if you just took out all the jokes and all the campiness of the Leprechaun character, just having him go around trying to kill people to get his gold back, it would be such a boring story that only the campiness and the over-the-top antics of the Leprechaun are what makes this movie special and what makes it worth watching to me. Like I said, what makes it a popcorn flick. Hey, did you know that General Mills actually gave them permission to use Lucky Charms in that scene where he finds the cereal in the cabinet? It wasn't until they saw the film and saw how horrific it was and that it was what type of horror movie it was going to be. Did they pull the plug on the permission? And they had to go back and use, I think, Lucky Clovers is the name of the cereal in there. Kind of cheesy, right? To me, this is by far the best of the series. It's obviously spawned like a long line of straight-to-video sequels. It even had a remake, and I think they just, did a Leprechaun Returns. But the ones with Warwick Davis, especially this first one, are the ones that I'm fond of. And I know a lot of people like the second and third one, but I'm really a fan of this original one. It's my favorite. It's because it was the one, it was the first. The other one seemed like old hat and just carbon copies of this one. I just enjoy it because it's a campy classic from the 90s. And if you go into that with that mindset and just trying to have fun, there's no way you would even think that this could be close to the hot garbage rating I've given some, horror movies along the way. So did you know that Warwick Davis actually had to ask George Lucas permission to be in this film? He was signed on with a contract to be in multiple Star Wars movies as Wicket the Ewok. And so he had to ask permission to be in this movie from George Lucas. There's even a special thank you to George Lucas in the credits. Kind of cool, eh? So what are my final thoughts on the film, you might ask? Well, the movies can't be fun, and I would be a liar if I didn't say that I thought Leprechaun was straight fire. Just don't compare it to bigger horror hits of the times, and you will have fun like I did with these silly little rhymes. So please come back to my channel for more movie reviews if you dare. And always remember, you guys be safe out there. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. So speaking of campy fun, I love finding continuity errors in movies. She's got dust on her side boob, as they say. And so as they interact a little bit, so as the scene continues, the dust is all over the front of her boob. And then now look, it's miraculously back on just her side boob. So they can't even keep track of where the dust is supposed to be on her body between shots.